who is the parent of Blake, class of 2018, and Spencer, but not the same Spencer, class of 2021. And then we have Allison and Ken Jacobs. Ken is an alum from the great class of 1989, and Allison and Ken are parents of Sarah, class of 2021, and Joshua, class of 2024. So they are parents in your cohort. You will have an opportunity to chat with the ambassadors in a little bit later to start to get to know them and to be able to ask questions from a parent perspective. Our ambassadors are really a great resource for you, and I'm so grateful that they're here today. To let you know how this Zoom is going to work today. So typically, if we were meeting up at the Freeman Center for Jewish Life, which is pictured behind me and behind Rabbi Ilana, I would talk a little bit, but the main amount of time would be for you to meet other parents in the class of 2024 cohort, to have a little nosh, of course, to ask questions of our staff, and to start to build community, because you are a part of our Duke Jewish community now. So today in our Zoom, we're going to try to replicate that as much as possible by giving you time to meet one another in this session. So I'll start by sharing some updates about Jewish life at Duke, what we have planned this semester, and what we think the semester will look like for Jewish students on campus. Then we'll break into smaller groups with an ambassador and a staff person in each breakout room. There you'll have a chance to introduce yourselves, to learn a little bit about the other parents who are there, and to ask questions. And then finally at the end, we'll come back together to share any burning questions that popped up in those discussions. So before we really get into it, I don't know about you, but I'm going to start with a deep breath. I hope you are also taking a deep breath, because I feel like with the pandemic and all that has occurred, families have been, like you, have been running through an obstacle course since the spring, except it's an obstacle course where you haven't been able to see what's in front of you. It's not like running track where you can see hurdles coming up. All of a sudden, bam, you hit a new obstacle. Bam, no in-person high school graduation. Bam, Duke, changing the academic schedule to change everything to be earlier. Bam, no roommate for your student. Bam, first years living on West Campus for the first time in decades, and just on and on and on. But it is my hope, I know it's our whole team's hope, that with the start of classes tomorrow, you and your students can take that deep breath. And I hope that there will not be many more unforeseen obstacles thrown in your paths as you begin and your student begins their Duke career. And so now to Jewish Life at Duke. Jewish Life at Duke. We are the home for all Jewish students at Duke, whether on campus or off campus, from all Jewish backgrounds. We're also a registered Hillel. So if you have students at other colleges, or if you were involved in a Hillel at a different college, you may be familiar with Hillel. So we have the best of both worlds. We're both a Hillel, and we are a Duke University department within the Division of Student Affairs. I want to highlight some things that we are going to be offering to students this semester to help them integrate into the Duke Jewish community and kind of find their footing here. So I will touch briefly on our spiritual and our educational and our social offerings. So first, we are continuing to offer weekly Shabbat programming on Zoom on Fridays. We are also providing a free kosher Shabbat dinner box to students. They don't need to get a dinner box to come to Shabbat Zoom, and they don't need to come to Shabbat on Zoom in order to get a Shabbat dinner box. They could do either or both, because our philosophy has always been, we're here for students however they want to be engaged. So if your student wants a Shabbat dinner box, they can register now for a Shabbat dinner box. They get a weekly email from us that has a link, and it's in our Instagram, and we can put the link in the chat so you can tell your student to get free Friday dinner from us. We're also in the middle of planning for high holidays for this fall. high holidays will look different, as I imagine that if you belong to a synagogue, your high holidays are going to look different at your home synagogue. So we are going to be offering a menu, a choice menu for high holidays. So first, we imagine that there will be some students who choose to Zoom into their home synagogue for some high holiday services. That's great. We imagine that there will be some students that only want to do Duke-specific high holiday services. That's great. We imagine that there will be some students that want to take the time to go outside, take a walk, reflect on their, themselves and have some personal holidays. Great. We are putting together an array of resources. So we will be offering both Duke-specific high holiday services for some of the holidays. We're also working with Hillel International to participate as a Duke cohort in some of the nationwide high holiday services that they're offering. And we're also going to be sharing links to other synagogue Zoom high holiday services, so students can have an array of options. We will also have high holiday meals available for pickup in a box so that students can have a festive holiday meal. So that's a little bit about our spiritual offerings for the moment. So next, for our educational offerings. We have a lot of educational offerings this semester. I think we have more than we have had in an in-person setting in a little bit of a while. Every semester we offer what's known as the Jewish Learning Fellowship, JLF. This is a 10-week course. It's non-credit, it's experiential. It is a great way for a cohort of students to get to know each other, to make friends, and to explore topics that are particularly relevant to them as college students through a Jewish lens. The course that we offer most frequently is called Life's Big Questions, and the themes are things like collaboration, friendship, how to disagree. We're going to continue to offer this on Zoom, and the applications for that program come out tomorrow to students. But we're also offering 2 more Jewish Learning Fellowship, or JLF, classes this fall. So for the first time ever, we are offering a JLF Israel class taught by our very own Israel fellow, Reuven Remez, who has been working on the curriculum all summer. We're very excited about this. And then Rabbi Ilana will be leading a JLF class on racial justice. JLF is always a popular offering, and both of these classes are very timely and relevant to the interests that students have. And again, they're a really great way for a cohort to form and for friendships within a class and intra-class to happen. So I'm really excited about those educational offerings. And then finally, social opportunities. So first I want to say, even when it's not a pandemic, we find that one of the main struggles for first years, or one of the main anxieties for first years, is finding friends, finding their people on campus. And this situation hasn't changed that, as you can probably imagine. So what are we doing about it? So first, a cohort of student leaders, our student leaders, have continued the Jewish First Year Advisory Mentorship, or JFAM program. This year, they've modified it so that upper class students have a very small pod of JFamlets to interact with and to begin to introduce around campus and to begin to form a small cohort. Small so that people can get to know each other really well, and small because of COVID. Jewish Student Union, or JSU, is working on organizing its first year council, which is a group of first years that do programming. They're organizing that earlier than ever. Usually this group begins several weeks into the semester to get first years accustomed to taking Duke classes and where is everything and just the pace of life at Duke. JSU is working on organizing that a little faster this year to start to build that community connection with the first year class. We are going to be rolling out virtual hangouts, both class-based for the class of 24, class of 23, and so on, as well as interclass virtual hangouts. so that students can meet each other, play games, and kind of relax. In real life, the Freeman Center for Students is a place to relax. We know that stress is something that students feel at Duke, and we want to be a balm against that stress. And the same thing is true here at this time. So Rabbi Ilana, for instance, is particularly famous for her Zoom games of Mafia, and she'll be offering those through the semester. Reuven, our Israel fellow, is very famous for his Zoom games of Uno. I am maybe infamous for my Zoom games of Pictionary because I cannot draw. We played these games all summer with students who were socially distant at home, and we're going to start those up again for first years and beyond. And while we are not yet planning in-person events, we are waiting for the university's okay to do so. My hope and my prayer is that cases remain low and that we will be able to open the Freeman Center for some socially distant games and small gatherings. We have an array of yard games that we purchased that are ready to be played in person when we get there. So before we go into our breakout rooms, that's a little bit about what's going on at Jewish Life at Duke. But before we go into our breakout rooms, I'll take a few questions. If anybody has any questions, you can drop them into the chat, or you can, if you have the raise hand feature in Zoom, some of you may have that, we can use that. And I can take a few questions, and then we'll go into breakout rooms. Then we'll come back and have time for any more questions before we wrap up. So let's see. I see a couple questions in the chat that I'll address right now. So first, Amy writes, good question, Amy. Will there be an option to gather together with box meals to Zoom into high holiday services, either at the Freeman Center or perhaps on West or East? So that's a really good question. And I don't have a definitive yes or no. And the reason is because this past Friday, for our first Shabbat of the semester, there was a group of about 7 first-year students who just decided they were going to Zoom into Shabbat with their Shabbat dinner boxes all together from the East Campus Quad. And so they put a laptop down and they were all outside wearing their masks. Maybe your students were among them. And they joined us for Shabbat. All the service, the singing, our good thing of the week, and they ate their dinner together. It was fabulous. And so what we hear is that more first years are actually doing that. And we hear that upperclassmen are telling us, we want to get first years organized too. So some of this is happening organically to get cohorts, small groups together for social distant, joining us for Shabbat and potentially for high holidays. We will not know for a little bit until we get a few weeks into the semester if we will be able to open the Freeman Center yet. The Freeman Center, because it's a university building, is one of the buildings that isn't in the first wave of building openings. So we will find out if we will be able to open it for socially distant gatherings inside. But as soon as we can do it, we're going to do it because students need to get together and they want to get together. Creating groups and signing up to find each other with their JFAM. Some of them for sure, JFAMs I have heard are getting together in a socially distant way, wearing masks outside. And some of them are finding one another through other means. All of the class of 2024 Facebook and group me's and the dorm group me's and all of the ways. So yes, they are working on finding each other, and we are here to facilitate that as well. Could they bring their laptops and lawn chairs and gather outside the Freeman Center? Yes, we actually have a really nice patio outside the Freeman Center. And there was a group of upper class students. I think there were 6 upper class students on Friday at our Shabbat that were outside the Freeman Center on our patio. We installed sunshades over the summer so that people can gather outside more comfortably in the North Carolina sun. And so, yes, that is an option for folks, and they don't have to bring lawn chairs because we have patio chairs. So chairs are already there. Any more questions before we go into our breakouts? All right. Well, we will be breaking into breakouts now, and then you'll be able to chat with your parent ambassador and your staff member there, and then we'll come back together at the end. So thank you. I hope you all had some good chats in your breakouts and were able to get to know one another a little bit, or at least, you know, if my student is the only one on West alone, I now know that there's another one on West, and things like that. I'd love to open up to more questions that popped up in your chat that perhaps might be a good question for everyone. Is there a Duke APAC group? Yes, there is. There is a student Duke APAC group. It is called DIPAC, no surprise, Duke Israel Public Affairs Committee, and it is very active. Right before the shutdown, we had just sent our largest group of students to the APAC conference, and then they all came back, and then they all went home in March. But yes, there's an active Duke APAC group. Ooh, Southern California in the chat. If you're from Southern California, please drop it in the chat so that you can get to know each other a little bit. That's a good note, Sherry. Sherry, just put in there, put your name and location in the chat. You can feel free to do that if you like. A private question that came up is about being connected socially, not just religiously. Absolutely. Jewish Life at Duke is here for all kinds of connections, whether they are students who are spiritual seekers, whether they are students who are intellectual seekers, whether they are students who are social seekers. We are here for all of it. And so a host of our programming is for social connections. Let me back up and say, all of our programming is for social connections. I mean, we build in social connections to all of our programs, whether they are religious or spiritual programming, educational programming, but we also do purely social programs as well for students. Like I mentioned before, we're going to be doing our virtual game days. As soon as we can open, we are going to be able to do in person for small groups. We do a lot of one-on-one coffee conversations with students. Our engagement team, Rabbi Ilana Reuven and myself, we do one-on-one coffee conversations, get to know your student, and then connect them with other students. Oh, you're interested in stand-up comedy? Well, you should meet this student who is on the stand-up comedy crew. Can I put the two of you in touch with one another? So there's a lot of social connections that's going on. A question about how is programming information being shared to the students? What's on offer? Anything that gets the students interested is wonderful. Well, I agree with that. We have an email newsletter that goes out to students weekly. So if we know that a student is Jewish because they put Jewish on their application when they applied to Duke, or they've come to us and said, I need to get your information, or you have told us, then they get our email newsletter every week that shares all the information. We also have robust social media pages that lots and lots of students are following. Jewish Student Union, JSU, also sends an email newsletter out to students with JSU programming, which is a lot of it is social programming. So there's lots of ways that students are informed about programming. I hope that answers that question.
Joyce, can you share the information that parents and alumni also receive from us?
Oh my gosh, of course, you get information from us too. Thank you, Aviv. Yes, we send a monthly newsletter for parents and alumni via email. So you should be on the lookout for that. We have not sent the August one yet because we wanted classes to start. So you will be getting our monthly newsletter for parents and alumni, and from time to time, e-blasts when something nifty has happened or is happening. I'm thinking about things like Latkapalooza, when we do our big Latka party in the fall. We don't yet know what that's going to look like this fall. When we do the B'nai Mitzvah in the spring, where students who have not yet had a bar or bat mitzvah get to have one, and then there's a party afterward. We typically send e-blasts around that. So you will get information from us. And Allison and Ken are noting that parents are welcome to our first Friday of the month Shabbat on Zoom. Parents joined us all summer, and grandparents, and it was delightful. And I'm in love with everyone's grandparents because they were just the sweetest grandparents and bubbies that joined us. So there's that as well. More questions. In non-pandemic times, do we plan any Israel trips? Yes. So our Israel fellow, Reuven, recruits a cohort of students to go on Birthright. We really recommend students go on Birthright in their first year if possible, because that helps build a cohort and build a community. When they go together on Birthright, students who go on Birthright, you come back and almost uniformly tell us, I'm so glad I did that because I met really cool people, or I knew so-and-so before, but not as well. And now we're really good friends. And then they do things together for the rest of their time at Duke, and they build core friendships. But yes, we absolutely do Birthright trips. And then Reuven also helps connect students with other opportunities for travel to Israel, and to extend travel to Israel, and to study in Israel, and to work in Israel. So yes, we do that. I want to kick it over for a moment to Rabbi Ilana, because Rabbi Ilana is our expert at one-on-one student outreach. She is famous for her coffee meetings with students. And so I want to give her a chance to chat about that a little bit. Rabbi?
Sure. I was nervous about what I was famous for, because there are some good things and some okay things. No, they're all good things. Thanks, Joyce. First, I just want to say y'all are in a big moment in your lives right now, where your children are far away from you, and that's a big deal. And know that at least in the last breakout that came up, we're doing everything that we can to support them on their Jewish journey. And a big piece of that is our one-on-one conversations with them. So normally in non-pandemic times, that includes a cup of coffee or tea or some other beverage, but nowadays it's over Zoom for the most part until otherwise. But it's a big part of the work that we do is having what I call conversations on students' Jewish journey. So where are they in their life with their Judaism and their Jewish identity? How do they want to grow? What do they want to learn? What things interest them? And the conversations are not just about their Judaism only. This is very much a chance, I take it as a chance to get to know students on a deeper level and help them in any way I can in their Duke journey. So a lot of us, have different connections on campus, whether it be with faculty or other student affairs departments, and we want to help connect them to different elements of their interest and things that they're excited about or curious about. And also, I like to say, politely challenge them to go outside their comfort zone and learn something perhaps that they weren't necessarily thought that they were going to learn during their time at Duke. So that's a big piece of what we do is act as, I don't want to say adult mentors to your students, but adult mentors to your student on campus, someone that they can reach out to and connect with that's not a faculty member. One of my greatest gifts is that we don't grade your students. I mean, I do, I give everybody an A, but it means nothing. But we don't grade your students. Sure, maybe they'll ask us for a recommendation, but really it's about our connection with them and getting to know and being on their journey and supporting them through the ups and through the downs. So it's a big piece of the work that we do. And I try to have coffee with every student at least once during the year. Sometimes it'll be, a few times a year, but I try to meet with as many students as possible. I think last year, or like a regular year, it's usually around 200 students I'll have coffee with at some point during the year. And some get more. So I don't know if that's what you wanted, Joyce, but hopefully.
That was so great. Thank you, Rabbi.
Yeah.
So we have about 5 minutes left. I want to absolutely make time for any other burning questions, but I also want to say, in addition to our monthly email newsletter, you are welcome to follow us on Facebook. You are Jewish Life at Duke. You are welcome to follow us on Instagram, Jewish Life at Duke, so that you can get updates and photos. We already had photos Friday from students, their first year students and I see some parents of these first year students picking up their Shabbat boxes from the Freeman Center. So absolutely follow us on social media if you have social media. Some of these days I wish I didn't, but I do, and keep up to date with all the things. Just wait for any more questions. Well, I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to Sherry, and I want to say thank you to Allison and Ken and Steve for being amazing ambassadors and for really helping parents navigate not just Jewish Life at Duke, but Duke. Just thank you all so much for all your help today and always. I really appreciate it. I want to thank our team, and I want to thank you, parents, for your students, for trusting Duke with them, for trusting us with them. We are your resource too. We are here for your students. We are also here for you. You are now part of our Duke community, our Jewish Duke community, your mishpacha. So, feel free to call us or email us, or direct message us on Instagram if you know how to do that. I just learned how to do that. So feel free to reach out to us. And, it's going to be an interesting semester, but I believe in my heart that the next 4 years for your students are going to be amazing. And so we are here for them every step of the way. And with that, I'll hang around here and some of our team will hang around here if you have any other questions, but otherwise I hope you have a good Sunday afternoon.